For years, she was one of the most disliked women in Britain. Millions blamed her for the collapse of a royal marriage. Newspapers painted her as the villain. Crowds mocked her name. And many believed she would never be accepted by the British public. Yet today, that same woman stands beside the King of the United Kingdom as Queen Camilla. How did one of the most controversial figures in royal history manage to transform her image and win acceptance from a nation that once rejected her? The answer is far more fascinating than most people realize. The story of Queen Camilla is unlike anything the British monarchy has seen before. It's a tale of forbidden love, public scandal, heartbreak, patience, and ultimately redemption. For decades, her relationship with King Charles was scrutinized more intensely than almost any royal romance in modern history. From secret meetings and media outrage to becoming queen consort and eventually queen, Camilla's journey has been one of the most extraordinary transformations in royal history. Today, we're taking a deep dive into how Camilla went from being viewed as the other woman to becoming one of the most respected members of the royal family. Let's get into it. The woman WHO captured Charles's heart. Long before she became queen, Camilla Shand was living a relatively carefree life in the English countryside. Born in 1947, she grew up in a well-connected family, surrounded by horses, animals, and the traditions of rural England. Unlike many aristocratic young women of her generation, Camilla was known for her humor, confidence, and down-to-earth personality. And those qualities would eventually catch the attention of a young Prince Charles. The two met in the early 1970s through mutual friends. According to royal insiders, there was an immediate connection. Camilla wasn't intimidated by Charles. She made him laugh. She treated him like a normal person. And perhaps most importantly, she understood him. Many who knew the couple at the time described their bond as effortless. They shared similar interests, loved the countryside, enjoyed riding horses, and found comfort in each other's company. But there was one problem. The future King of Britain wasn't entirely free to choose his own bride. As heir to the throne, Charles was expected to marry someone who fit royal expectations. Palace advisors reportedly viewed Camilla as unsuitable. Meanwhile, Camilla maintained an on-again, off-again relationship with Army officer Andrew Parker Bowles. Eventually, she married him in 1973. For Charles, it was a painful moment. Friends say he was deeply hurt by the marriage and struggled to accept that the woman he loved had chosen another path. Yet despite everything, their connection never completely disappeared. And that would change the course of royal history. The scandal, that shock, the monarchy. By the 1980s, Charles had married Lady Diana Spencer. To the world, it looked like a fairy tale, a handsome prince, a beautiful young princess, a royal wedding watched by hundreds of millions. But behind the palace walls, reality was very different. Charles and Diana were fundamentally incompatible in many ways. As tensions grew inside the marriage, Charles and Camilla gradually reconnected. What followed became one of the most explosive royal scandals ever witnessed. As books, interviews, and leaked recordings emerged throughout the 1990s, the public became increasingly aware of the complicated relationships behind the scenes. For many people, there was a clear villain, and that villain was Camilla. While Charles also faced criticism, Camilla absorbed an enormous amount of public anger. Newspapers attacked her relentlessly. Commentators mocked her appearance. Her reputation was shattered. Following Charles and Diana's separation, and especially after Diana's tragic death in 1997, public hostility toward Camilla reached unprecedented levels. Some royal experts have described this period as one of the darkest times of her life. She largely disappeared from public view, rarely giving interviews, rarely responding, rarely defending herself. Instead, she endured. And while public opinion remained overwhelmingly negative, a carefully planned effort was quietly taking shape behind palace walls. Operation RETZ. By the late 1990s, Charles had made a decision. He wanted the world to know that Camilla was a permanent part of his life. But revealing their relationship publicly would require careful timing. The wounds left by Diana's death were still raw. The British public was grieving, and introducing Camilla too aggressively could have triggered a major backlash. So royal advisors developed a gradual strategy. One of the most important moments came in 1999. The setting? A birthday party at London's famous Ritz Hotel. The plan was simple. Charles and Camilla would leave together, in public, for the first time. Photographers knew exactly where to be. The media arrived in huge numbers. And when the couple finally walked down those famous steps, flashbulbs exploded everywhere. The images were instantly historic. The secret was over. No more hiding. No more speculation. Charles and Camilla were officially presenting themselves as a couple. The reaction was mixed. Some people were furious. Others were curious. But one thing was clear. The public conversation had begun to change. Winning over the Queen. Perhaps the most important approval Camilla needed wasn't from the public. It was from Queen Elizabeth II. For years, the Queen had reportedly been uncomfortable with the relationship. Not only because of the scandals, but because she understood the damage it had caused to the monarchy's image. However, over time, something changed. The Queen began observing Camilla more closely. She saw her dedication, she saw her loyalty, and she saw how much support Camilla provided to Charles. Rather than demanding attention, Camilla quietly carried out duties behind the scenes. She didn't seek headlines. She didn't try to overshadow anyone. She simply focused on supporting Charles. Gradually, the relationship between Camilla and the Queen improved. Public appearances increased. Invitations became more frequent. And eventually, it became clear that the Queen had accepted her son's long-term partner. This acceptance marked a major turning point. If the Queen trusted Camilla, many people felt it was time to reconsider their own opinions. From controversial figure to working royal. One of the biggest reasons public opinion softened was simple. People began seeing Camilla's work. Instead of trying to reinvent herself overnight, she took a patient approach. She focused on causes that genuinely mattered to her. One of her most important campaigns involved osteoporosis awareness. The issue was deeply personal. Her mother and grandmother had both suffered from the disease. Camilla spoke openly about the devastating impact it had on her family. She also became a passionate advocate for literacy and reading, book charities, educational organizations, programs encouraging children to discover a love of books. These became central parts of her public role. In later years, she became particularly involved in efforts supporting victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Those who worked alongside her frequently described her as compassionate, approachable, and genuinely interested in helping people. Rather than attempting to force public affection, she allowed her actions to speak for themselves. And slowly, they did. The wedding everyone taujte would never happen. In 2005, after more than 3 decades of friendship, love, separation, and controversy, Charles and Camilla finally announced their engagement. For many observers, it felt almost unbelievable. The couple had waited 35 years. They had survived public outrage, media attacks, family challenges, and enormous political pressure. Yet they had remained together. On April 9, 2005, Charles and Camilla married in a civil ceremony at Windsor. It was not the grand royal wedding that Charles once had with Diana, but for the couple, it represented something perhaps more meaningful. A relationship that had endured against extraordinary odds. Even Princes William and Harry publicly expressed support for their father's happiness. And for the first time, it appeared that the royal family was moving forward, becoming Queen. The final chapter of Camilla's transformation arrived decades later. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth II made a remarkable public statement. She expressed her sincere wish that Camilla would one day be known as Queen Consort when Charles became king. It was an extraordinary endorsement. Perhaps the strongest signal possible that Camilla had earned the Queen's trust. Just months later, Queen Elizabeth passed away. Charles became King Charles III, and Camilla became Queen Consort. For a woman once considered unacceptable by many, it was an astonishing moment. Years later, the title was simplified to Queen Camilla, a position few could have imagined during the height of the Diana years. Yet through patience, loyalty, and perseverance, she had reached the highest role possible beside the king. Queen Camilla's story is one of the most dramatic image transformations in modern royal history. Whether people admire her or remain critical, there's no denying that her journey from public enemy to queen is unlike anything Britain has witnessed before. What do you think? Has Queen Camilla successfully earned public acceptance, or do you think the controversies of the past still define her legacy? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into royal history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next royal documentary. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.